now we will start turn 3. We've got a shake and check here. Free rally. 7 gets a 4. That guy's having the dickens of a time. Actually, well, he's in cover, so yeah. Okay. The leader is, for the American leader, would have a 7. He's in cover, but he's got an adjacent enemy, so he needs an 8. 8 or greater to rally. He gets a 9. I suppose in theory there may be some way those two can link up and the leader can provide value again, but most likely not. This is big because if the Germans get initiative, they get a free full strength attack here. So this is the initiative dialogue. Germans get a 7, Americans get a 3, so the Germans do get initiative. No impulse. Choose no impulse. Die roll. Modifiers. Nope, I guess not. Wow. You can get to 5 casualty points for either side in the first 6 turns. I don't know, maybe I'm not playing bloody enough. 2d6 for the Germans, they get 7 impulse points, which is plenty. Americans get 1d6 plus 3. They roll a 4, they get 7. But now the Germans have a decision to make. Do they want to take a full attack here? Or do they want to take a full attack there? This is where the Germans are going to be sneaky. They're actually going to go into melee to keep those guys from moving. Now the American gets to move, which will give him moving fire capabilities. He can't get off the board, but he can get right next to it, assuming he survives opportunity fire. So he could come down here, but he'd get opportunity fire here, opportunity fire there, and a 3rd fire in the woods. Now if he comes down here, he'd get an opportunity fire there, 1 opportunity fire there, opportunity fire there. He has to bank on there being a turn 0 because they cannot win this turn. All they can do is try. So they're going to move 1, 2, 3, 4. Try to get there. Now they moved here, here, here. So these guys will do the not fire there. That guy's a 4 defense. These guys are 3 after having. So it's 3 to 4, -1, but they get a +1 on the die roll. This could be the game. A 7 is a shake and check. So this could be the game. Oh, they get a 7, which is exactly what they needed. So they survive that first hot fire. Now their second is here. Nobody can fire at them there. Their third is here. These guys are These guys will op fire there. but they only have one because the building is a degrading line of sight. So it's 2 minus 1 is 1 to 4. So it's a minus 3. They need a big, big number. Big, big number. Got an 8, which is a shake and check. So once again, that squad has to pass morale check, and they fail. So that pretty much ends the game, I think. They're back here, and they're shaken, and they've already moved. I think that saved the game for the Joymans. Poor Americans. they got so close. The leader's gonna try to hook up with these guys. And they could fire. It'd be 2, 1, 1 to 4. Leader's gonna try to hook up, going 1, 2, 3. Now, how do the Germans play that? There's no way. I think I can block them with my units. Assuming they don't attack. So I don't want to fire at that leader. What I do want to do is go 2, 3, 4 and get those guys there. Americans will try to rally. So it's a 7, but minus 1 for being open ground, minus another 1 for being adjacent to an enemy, plus 1 for leader, so it's a minus 1. They gotta have an 8 or greater to rally. And they get a 6. They didn't rally. And so they're there. And so these guys then will fire. Do they fire or melee? Interesting question. They actually can pass, but then that would give them a free shot, which doesn't make any sense. We're actually going to move 1, 2, 3. Americans will try the shot. No, the Americans will try another rally attempt, which they need an 8 or more. They got a 7, so they fail. Germans only have 2 more. points. These guys have fired. They haven't moved. They move 1, 2, 3, 4. But they moved there. Now they'll let them go. Americans will try another rally. They need an 8. They got a 4. They are not working out. The Germans will fire in there. Got I can't carry 2, so I guess this is left over here. So they've got a 6, 7 halved because these guys have moved. It comes down to a 3, 3 to 4. -1 and -1 on the die roll. A 7 becomes a 6, which is no result. Americans will try to rally one more time. We got an 8. They need an 8. They need an 8. They got an 8. So he's rallied. Now that makes it a little bit more interesting. Actually, a whole lot more interesting. Holy mackerel. Did I misplay that as the German? No, I didn't. The Germans will go 1, 2, 3, picking up that machine gun, and they're done. And the Americans get 1 shot at there. They have 5, 6 to 4. And moving fire and leader offset each other. So +2 column table. A 7 is a broken chuck. German needs an 8 or more. Got an 8. So that's the end of that phase. We will have another melee attack, which the Germans sneakily did, just to buy some time over here on their right flank, trying to bottle them up. Actually, there's no way they can get off even if there is a turn 0. But alright, so the Germans have 5 against 6. -1 table for the Germans. -1 column. Roll a 7. That's a shaken check. The American squad needs a 7 or more. Got a 7. So the leader doesn't have to take a check. So coming back the other way, the Americans have 6, 8 to 3. So it's out there on the 5 column table. And it's +1 for the leader. So a 5 + 1 is a 6, which is a casualty. So that plays into the Germans' hands because the melee continues into round turn 0, if there is a turn 0. So that flank is done. That's the end of turn 1. Now we will roll to see if there is, because there are some possibilities here. Slight, but still possible. Is there a turn 0? And we roll a 9 combined, so there is a turn 0. Start with the free rally check. He needs a... He's in cover, so he just needs a 7. He gets a 6. He fails for about the 18 millionth time. Okay, this is big, guys. Here comes the initiative roll. Initiative is a 6 and a 6. Both sides rolled a 5 and a 1. We'll reroll. The Germans get 5, and the Americans get 9. The Americans get the initiative. Now, I need to just double check here and make sure that the Germans didn't get to... No, they didn't. 1. The Americans are still at... Americans have 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Americans should have 3 impulse over casualties. Okay, so here's the Americans' impulse points. 6 plus 3 is 9. They got more impulse points than they know what to do with. The Germans get 5, which is plenty for their purposes. The only chance they have is to blast that open, and then hopefully they survive fire as they move off the board. That's really, because that'd be 1, 2, 3, 4. They can't get off the board. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. They can't get off the board without fighting. So they're gonna. They've got a 5. Adjacent is 6. 6 to 4 is plus 2. And plus 1 on the die roll for a leader. This is the game. They need a really good roll. They got an 8, which goes to a 9, which is a casualty, and a shake and check, which is not good enough. Germany needs an 8. Put that check. Misses it, but he's shaken, so he's stays there. That's the thing. The Americans needed to clear that out. Now these Germans will fire, and they get full factors, so it's 7 to 4 plus 3. They roll an 8, which is a casualty and a shaken check. So they're over. The American leader needs to do a casualty check, gets a 2 and survives. The squad needs to, the remaining squad needs to pass with a 7. Dead, so the leader doesn't have to do anything. Now, I don't know if this is right or not, but the Americans are going to advance into that hex to melee. Now, I think it has to be a good order squad. Oh, that can't do anything. It has to be a good order squad to exit, so they can't back out of there being broken or shaken in a melee hex. Because it has to be a good order squad, I'm pretty sure. Any squad or reduced squad off the north map. It does not say good order squad, so we're gonna give it a shot. Okay, melee here, which really means nothing. Americans have 6, 8 to 3, and a +1 on the, so it's +5 column and +1 on the die roll. They roll 8, which is a 9, which kills the reduced squad. But the reduced squad gets an attack back, and they're going to do a 4-4 designated attack on the squad. Well, the squad's got a I don't know how that works. I think I gotta say it's 4 to 5. Squad's got a bar that has to be able to use it, I would think. Doesn't make any difference, they roll a 4, so it's neither here nor there. But the interesting one over here, and am I gaming the system? I don't know. And it may not work anyway, so we'll see what happens. The Americans have, the Germans have a defense of 2. 4 halved for being shaken. Germans have 2. The Americans have an attack value of 3, 4. 4 to 2, it's +2, and it's +1 on the die roll for the leader. 9 is a 10, which is a casualty, so that German squad is gone, which is not what the Americans actually wanted. They rolled too well. The Germans have a 2, and they'll do a 2 to 4. Actually, they'll do a 2 to 2 to 6, because they really don't want to. They got a 10, which is a broken check. Squad needs a 7 or more, fails the broken check. The leader fails the broken check. So you see, if that darn squad wouldn't have been eliminated, the Americans would have been broken in a melee hex, and they'd have to have retreated out, and they would have retreated off the board, and they would have won the game. You think? Well, I don't see what's wrong with it. Let me read the melee rules here. After combat, all broken and shaken units are retreated to adjacent hexes by the owning player. Surviving good order units remain in the melee hex after combat. After combat, all broken and shaken units are retreated to adjacent hexes by the owning player. If all units on both sides are broken or shaken, then only the player that initiated the melee will retreat out of the hex. See, this is where I may be missing this, but to me, they're the only folks left in the hex, so they shouldn't have to retreat. But that's not what this says. It says after combat, all broken and shaken units are retreated to adjacent hexes by the owning player. If all units on both sides are broken or shaken, then only the player that initiated the melee will retreat out of the hex. Well, guys, I'm probably cheating here. I'm going to say they have to retreat out of the hex, and they're going to move off the board. Now, obviously, I don't know whether that is the legal way to do it or not. And so the outcome is subject to a rules interpretation. If that's allowed and required, actually, to get out of that hex, even though they're the only surviving units left, and they can go to any hex except for the one with the enemy, the Americans win. If not, the American units stay there and the Germans win. So you see how close this was. It had to go to turn 0, the extra turn. There were a couple times where the Americans actually retreated out of melee hexes moving forward. They're not in good order units, but there is a reduced squad in there. So what do you guys think? Is that a victory for the Americans or for the Germans?